The mansions of Hollywood were built for luxury, but some have become graveyards of glamour.
And I go to move my arms, and I can't move my arms.
Homes, once filled with parties and power, now echo with curses, tragedies, and ghostly footsteps.
Also had Johnny Depp actually stay in this exact room before. On the third night, he was awoken in this exact bed to a little girl in a white nightgown jumping up and down on his bed.
From Nicolas Cage's doomed properties to the eerie secrets of Graceland, these are the 20 haunted celebrity mansions Hollywood tried to hide.
There's also like blood or something on some of the couches. Very strange.
Taking pictures, I noticed on my cell phone that I appear to have a picture of Elvis's ghost. And this is not crazy.
Number 20. Graceland's Forbidden Attic. A single brass key remained untouched in the Presley family vault for 48 years. When archivists finally climbed those narrow stairs in January 2025, their white gloves trembled as they unlocked a door that hadn't opened since Elvis died. Elvis purchased the 14-acre Memphis estate in 1957 for $100,000, transforming it into his personal kingdom. The jungle room, with green shag carpet climbing the walls, became legendary among visitors. The meditation garden offered peaceful refuge with fountains and white columns. But the second floor and attic remained sealed since August 16, 1977, when paramedics carried Elvis from his bathroom. The attic revealed a meticulously organized time capsule. Boxes lined the walls, each labeled in Elvis's handwriting. Tupelo 1945, Army Days, Vegas shows. The Tupelo box contained a one-eyed teddy bear, patches sewn from his mother Gladys's old dresses visible on its chest. The worn floral fabric came from the poverty years when Vernon sat in jail, and young Elvis clung to this single comfort.
In my opinion, I did not see any evidence of a heart attack morphologically, meaning there was no gross evidence of a heart attack.
Medical reports from 1974 marked confidential, detailed heart problems that should have ended his performing career. Yet Elvis continued his grueling tour schedule for 3 more years. Unopened fan letters from 1976 begged him to rest, to cancel tours, to save himself. Number 19. The Kingdom That Lost Its King. Michael Jackson's Neverland Ranch sprawls across 2,700 acres of Santa Barbara countryside,
with intimate access to the inner sanctum of the most famous person on Earth.
like a monument to interrupted childhood. The property wasn't just large, it contained an entire amusement park, complete with a working railway station where a miniature train once carried laughing children through manicured gardens. Jackson designed every detail as an escape from reality. A 50-seat movie theater showed cartoons around the clock. The carousel played calliope music that echoed across empty fields. After his death in 2009, groundskeepers found themselves maintaining rides no child would ever enjoy again.
Usually the carousel, I'll play music. I love playing classical music on the carousel.
Weeds slowly strangled the elaborate gardens, while exotic animal enclosures stood hollow, their former residents relocated to sanctuaries. The financial burden proved crushing. Monthly maintenance topped $50,000 just to prevent total decay. The property entered the market at $100 million, a price reflecting its unique amenities and notorious history. Year after year, the asking price dropped like a stone through water. When it finally sold for $31 million, a 69% reduction, even hardened real estate professionals called it the deal of the century. Yet, the buyers remained anonymous, hidden behind layers of shell companies as if the property itself demanded secrecy. Number 18. The Latin Lover's Eternal Tango. Falcon Lair perches on its Benedict Canyon hillside as if Rudolph Valentino himself positioned it to watch over Hollywood forever. The Spanish-style estate, built as the silent film star's sanctuary from screaming fans, now hosts a very different kind of performance, one that plays out in empty rooms for an audience that can't quite see the show. Valentino designed the property to reflect his sophisticated tastes. Moorish arches framed stunning valley views. The grand staircase swept upward with theatrical flair. But since his death in 1926, visitors report phenomena that suggest the great lover never truly left his beloved retreat. Piano music drifts through the mansion at odd hours, not just any melodies, but the specific tango arrangements Valentino favored for his intimate gatherings. Caretakers over the decades have documented consistent experiences. The scent of rose cologne, Valentino's signature fragrance, appears in hallways with no source. Lights flicker in patterns that seem almost communicative. A maintenance worker in the 1970s claimed he felt someone adjusting his posture while he worked on the staircase, as if Valentino himself was correcting his bearing. Unlike typical ghost stories filled with fear and dread, witnesses describe feeling protected, even welcomed, as if the star continues hosting guests with old-world hospitality. Number 17. When America's Sweethearts Became Sorrow. Pickfair Mansion once reigned as Hollywood royalty's true palace, where Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks entertained presidents and actual royalty with equal grace. The Beverly Hills estate's iron gates protected 22 rooms of pure glamour, where the couple who invented movie stardom wrote the rules everyone else would follow. Their 1936 divorce transformed the atmosphere completely. Newspapers nicknamed it the House of Sorrow, and staff members began reporting unsettling changes. Pickford herself admitted to hearing voices in empty rooms, telling reporters she felt like an intruder in her own home.
And my daughter described this apparition of this woman. She had a white gown on, and she was looking at her and laughing.
The phenomena centered around glimpses of a woman in Victorian dress, not Pickford, but someone from an earlier era, before the land held any mansion at all. Jerry Buss bought the property in the 1970s, bringing Lakers championship energy to the storied address. Yet even his success couldn't dispel the strange occurrences. Lights flickered in response to questions. Cold spots appeared in specific doorways. A female figure manifested near the former servants' quarters, always vanishing when approached directly. Modern visitors still report laughter from the demolished ballroom's location, as if parties from the Golden Age continue just beyond perception. Number 16. The Mansion of Monstrous Memory. Nicolas Cage thought he was buying history when he purchased the LaLaurie Mansion in New Orleans' French Quarter. Built in 1832, the three-story Creole townhouse promised architectural beauty and cultural significance. What Cage actually bought was one of America's most blood-soaked addresses, where Madame Delphine LaLaurie's torture of enslaved people left wounds that 200 years couldn't heal. The Oscar winner poured millions into the property between 2007 and 2009. He installed a swimming pool fit for Olympic training. The grand staircase was restored to museum quality. But no amount of renovation could overcome what construction workers began experiencing immediately. Power tools would mysteriously stop working in certain rooms. Workers reported feeling physically pushed by unseen forces. One contractor claimed that he arrived to find his equipment had been rearranged overnight to spell out "Get Out" across the ballroom floor. The mansion's reputation made selling nearly impossible, even with Cage's celebrity connection. Paranormal investigators consider it one of America's most active sites. Thermal cameras capture human-shaped cold spots moving through rooms. Voice recorders pick up sounds that weren't audible during recording. Doors slam with enough force to crack frames. The property finally sold for $3.4 million. But the new owners lasted less than 2 years before quietly putting it back on the market. Number 15. The Platinum Blonde's permanent residence. Jean Harlow's Benedict Canyon home radiates old Hollywood tragedy from every Art Deco line. The house where her husband, Paul Byrne, died under mysterious circumstances in 1932 seems frozen in that terrible moment, replaying fragments of violence and despair for each new resident brave enough to sign a lease. Harlow had lived there barely 2 months when Byrne's body was discovered with a gunshot wound. Suicide notes, accusations of impotence, and mob connections swirled through the investigation. The official verdict satisfied no one. Modern occupants report disturbances that suggest someone or something remains desperate to tell a different story. Heavy thuds shake walls without cause. The sensation of being watched intensifies near the living room where Byrne spent his final evening. Private investigators have reported temperature drops of 20 degrees in specific spots, always near areas connected to the tragedy. Neighbors report sobbing from the vacant house between tenants, a woman's voice carrying across the canyon on windless nights. Number 14. The Ice Cream Blonde's final performance. Thelma Todd's Spanish-style restaurant and apartment complex overlooking the Pacific should have been her golden future. The comedic actress, fresh from success with the Marx Brothers, had everything planned. A thriving business, ocean views, and independence. Rare for 1930s actresses. Instead, the property became the stage for Hollywood's most enduring murder mystery.
Out there that you can't see.
If people die violently or suddenly, or they're resisting the death process, they have a hard time moving into the light.
December 16th, 1935. Todd's body was discovered in her garage, supposedly a victim of carbon monoxide poisoning. The official verdict of accidental death convinced nobody. Her face showed signs of violence. The timeline made no sense. The mob connections were too obvious to ignore. The garage where she died has generated reports of paranormal activity since the day they removed her body. Footsteps pace the concrete floor. Car keys rattle without being touched. The distinct sound of an engine turning over echoes through empty space. Restaurant workers in later decades reported finding the kitchen rearranged overnight. Place settings moved to spell out words like help and lies. Some have reported visions of Todd herself, appearing just as witnesses focus on her, then vanishing, leaving them wondering if the California light plays tricks, or if Todd refuses to leave until someone finally listens to her story. Number 13. The footsteps behind Cary Grant. Gray Hall Estate spreads across 2 acres of Holmby Hills perfection. Yet Cary Grant could never shake the feeling someone followed him through its marble hallways. The British-born actor leased the mansion during Hollywood's golden age, drawn to its sophisticated architecture and promise of privacy. Instead, he found himself sharing space with footsteps that stayed just out of sight. Always one turn behind, never quite catching up, no matter how quickly he spun around. The mansion's layout creates natural acoustic tricks. Voices carry from unexpected directions. Doors echo through multiple rooms. But Grant's experiences went beyond architecture. He told select friends about overwhelming cold spots that appeared without warning, dropping the room temperature in seconds. Library doors would swing open during conversations, as if someone wanted to join the discussion. Faint laughter drifted from empty wings of the house, matching no one Grant knew. Previous and subsequent residents report identical phenomena. A pharmaceutical executive who bought the property in the 1990s installed motion sensors that triggered constantly with no visible cause. Number 12. Bette Davis's Midnight Caller. Every night at midnight, something in Bette Davis's former Havenhurst Drive home announces its presence with 3 measured taps on the master bedroom wall. The colonial revival property looks innocent enough from the street, with white clapboards and black shutters, the kind of traditional architecture that whispers respectability. But Davis herself nicknamed it Havenhurst Haunt during particularly active periods, and subsequent residents have learned to accept their invisible housemate. Davis rented the property during a career transition, using it as her base while fighting studio battles that would define Hollywood labor relations. The stress of those years seems embedded in the walls. Visitors describe seeing a hazy figure in the living room mirror. Not Davis, but an older woman in Victorian dress who vanishes when approached directly. The attic produces extended screaming sounds that contractors can't trace to wind or settling wood. Research reveals the property sits on land once owned by a widow who fought for decades to keep her home during Los Angeles's expansion. She lost everything, dying alone in what would become Davis's living room. Modern paranormal investigators have documented electromagnetic spikes coinciding with the midnight tapping, voices on recording equipment that weren't audible during sessions, and temperature anomalies that follow human-shaped patterns. The current owners treat the phenomena as part of the property's charm, though they've learned to warn house guests about what to expect after dark. Number 11. Chaplin's Cottage of Confusion. Charlie Chaplin's Beverly Hills cottage should have been his happy ending. A storybook English-style home where the king of silent comedy could enjoy his success. Instead, the property became a stage for performances nobody bought tickets to see. Cold air blasts through rooms with sealed windows. Floorboards creak under invisible weight. A tall figure in Victorian clothing walks the hallways, visible just long enough for witnesses to question their sanity. The house predates Chaplin's ownership, built on land with a complicated history. Previous residents included a theater owner who died under mysterious circumstances in the 1890s, his body discovered in what would become Chaplin's study. That room now generates the most paranormal activity. Electronic voice phenomena recordings capture a male voice saying, "Help me," in Victorian English. Chaplin himself documented strange experiences in his personal papers, describing the sensation of someone watching him work. Modern investigators have captured compelling evidence, thermal imaging sometimes showing a humanoid figure. Motion detectors trigger in sequence, mapping a path to the garden and back. The current owners report that activity intensifies during renovations, as if changes to the house disturb something that prefers its Victorian configuration. Number 10. Houdini's Burning Secret. Fire destroyed Harry Houdini's Laurel Canyon estate in 1959, but locals swear they still see the famous magician searching through the ashes for something that burned with his mansion. The property once featured secret tunnels, hidden chambers, and mechanical devices Houdini used to expose fake spiritualists. Those underground passages survived the fire, creating a maze beneath the modern homes built on the site. Construction workers breaking ground in the 1960s reported tools vanishing from locked storage, reappearing in underground tunnels they hadn't yet discovered. Whispers echo from the old foundation stones, not English, but Hungarian, Houdini's native language. Children playing in nearby yards describe meeting a sad man in old-fashioned clothes who shows them card tricks before disappearing. Security cameras capture shadow figures moving through the ruins at night, always searching, never finding. The tunnel system extends further than official records indicate. Urban explorers who've mapped the passages report consistent phenomena. Lights that follow them through darkness. The sensation of hands pushing them away from certain areas.
Clearly, Houdini wanted to be bigger than life, and he would do anything towards that end.
And the overwhelming smell of smoke in tunnels that burned clean decades ago. One chamber contains what appears to be a practice space for escape acts, with chains and locks that rattle without being touched. Investigators have recorded temperature drops of 30 degrees in specific tunnels, always accompanied by the sound of desperate searching. Number 9. Ozzy's Eternal Den. What do you do when your favorite TV star won't leave his house? Ask the current residents of Camino Palmero. Typewriter keys clack through walls in Ozzy Nelson's former Hollywood home. The sound comes from his old den, where residents hear him planning shows that will never air. The modest property reflects the wholesome image the Nelsons projected on their long-running show. Comfortable, not ostentatious. The kind of place where real families might actually live. Music drifts from empty rooms, always songs from the show's 14-year run. The smell of Ozzy's favorite cigars appears without a source, strong enough to trigger smoke detectors that find no actual smoke. His former den generates the most activity. Papers shuffle on empty desks. Chairs adjust as if accommodating an invisible occupant. And witnesses describe feeling scrutinized while passing the doorway. Multiple residents report the same experience, a gentle presence that seems protective rather than threatening, as if Ozzy continues watching over his domain with the same paternal care he brought to television screens across Americas. Number 8. Lombard's Lasting Laugh. Carol Lombard's spirit arrived at her Hollywood Hills home before the news of her death reached Los Angeles. The morning her plane crashed in Nevada, January 16, 1942, servants at the house reported hearing her distinctive laugh and smelling her signature gardenia perfume.
TWA Flight 3 was a transcontinental Western...
Hours later, Clark Gable received the telegram that shattered his world. The house has echoed with that same laughter ever since, as if Lombard refuses to let tragedy define her story. The property showcases 1930s glamour at its peak. Art Deco details, a swimming pool shaped like a champagne glass, and gardens designed for moonlight parties. Lombard appears on the balcony in her favorite blue gown, visible just long enough for witnesses to recognize her platinum hair and radiant smile. Unlike other Hollywood hauntings filled with sorrow, Lombard's presence feels jubilant, even mischievous. Gable himself returned twice after her death, telling friends he felt her there, not trapped, but choosing to stay where they'd been happiest. Number 7. The voice that never left Sunset Boulevard. Orson Welles' Tudor mansion above Sunset Boulevard still broadcasts his unmistakable baritone through empty hallways, 40 years after the legendary filmmaker's death. The oak-paneled study where Welles crafted his radio dramas generates electromagnetic readings that send paranormal equipment into overdrive, meters spike, recording devices capture phantom orchestral arrangements, and the distinct aroma of his favorite Cuban cigars materializes from thin air. The house reflects Welles's theatrical sensibility with dramatic archways, heavy wooden doors, and windows positioned to frame the city like a stage set. After selling the property in the 1970s, Welles never publicly discussed his years there, but staff members later revealed he conducted marathon creative sessions that stretched through entire nights, reading Shakespeare aloud to empty rooms. Those readings apparently continue. New owners report hearing soliloquies from Hamlet and Macbeth, delivered in Welles's distinctive voice, always between 2 and 4 a.m. when he did his best work. Number 6. The Gentleman Ghost of Clifton Webb. classical music drifts through Clifton Webb's former Los Angeles residence at precisely 8 p.m. each evening, the exact time the fastidious actor would begin his nightly ritual of brandy and Brahms. The house maintains itself according to Webb's exacting standards. Lights switch on and off following his documented routine. Mirrors fog at specific times, as if someone stands before them adjusting a bow tie. And his signature cologne suddenly fills the library where he spent hours reading scripts. Webb lived with his mother, Maybelle, until her death, their relationship so close that Hollywood gossip speculated endlessly. After she passed, Webb's devotion seemed to intensify rather than fade. Servants reported finding fresh flowers in her room each morning, though no one had placed them there. Webb himself died in 1966, but the phenomena suggesting his presence began immediately. That very night, neighbors saw lights moving through the house in the exact pattern of Webb's evening routine. The library generates the most activity. Books rearrange themselves into Webb's preferred organizational system whenever new owners attempt different arrangements. An elegant male voice calls out, "Mother?" at unexpected moments, sending chills through anyone present. Previous residents describe feeling scrutinized when entering certain rooms, as if Webb's perfectionist eye still evaluates their worthiness. An antique dealer who toured the property in the 1980s reported that Webb's portrait, sold years earlier, somehow appeared back on the library wall during his visit. Number 5. The Osbournes' unwanted house guest. The Osbourne mansion had a history problem. 3 previous owners, 3 mysterious deaths, 3 rooms nobody wanted to enter. Sharon Osbourne discovered she'd bought more than just Beverly Hills real estate when a woman in 1940s with pearls began walking through her bedroom walls every night at 3 a.m. The MTV cameras filming their reality show captured equipment malfunctions that editors couldn't explain. The footage would corrupt, specifically in rooms where the family reported paranormal activity, creating gaps in episodes that required creative editing to hide. The mansion's history revealed 3 previous owners had died under questionable circumstances. One ruled a suicide despite no note. Another found at the bottom of the stairs with injuries inconsistent with falling, and a third who simply died in his sleep at age 42 with no medical explanation. Each death occurred in different rooms, but all 3 locations later became supernatural hotspots that the Osbournes learned to avoid. The breaking point came during a dinner party when multiple celebrity guests watched plates launch themselves from the table, shattering against walls with enough force to embed china shards in the plaster. Ozzy, despite his Prince of Darkness persona, reportedly fled to a hotel that night and refused to return for a week.
Can't wait till I'm there. He's the strongest person I've ever met.
Sharon later admitted she'd hidden months of escalating activity, fearing it would affect their show's credibility. Professional mediums brought in secretly identified multiple spirits, including the pearl-wearing woman who seemed trapped in a loop, endlessly searching for something in the walls. Number 4. Dorothy's final journey home. No plaque marks where Hollywood's most tragic star died, but every mirror in the house tells the story. The bathroom where Mickey Deans found Judy Garland's body on June 22, 1969, generates phenomena that drive residents away within months. Every mirror in the house fogs simultaneously at 12:17 a.m., her estimated time of death, revealing condensation that shouldn't exist. The haunting extends beyond visual manifestations. Garland's voice echoes through ventilation systems, not singing the hopeful melodies fans remember, but sobbing and calling for her children. Electronic devices throughout the house synchronize without programming, turning on together to play musical programs that create a cacophony of overlapping songs. A BBC executive who rented the property in the 1990s documented finding his piano covered in small handprints each morning, matching the size of Garland's famously tiny hands. Paranormal investigators have captured extensive audio evidence of Garland's presence. Her distinctive vibrato appears on recordings made in empty rooms, sometimes humming "Over the Rainbow," other times speaking in fragments about pills, exhaustion, and promises she couldn't keep. Number 3. The Scandal That Won't Die. The party never ends at Fatty Arbuckle's Hollywood Hills estate, even though the last guest died decades ago. Neighbors report jazz music, laughter, and clinking glasses emanating from the empty mansion on September 5th each year, the anniversary of the 1921 party that destroyed Arbuckle's career. Though he was acquitted of Virginia Rappai's death after 3 trials, the house seems determined to replay that fatal night endlessly. Modern owners remain anonymous, hidden behind shell companies and ironclad endas, but household staff speak privately about experiencing physical assaults from invisible hands. The pushing and shoving matches descriptions from the 1921 party, as if ghostly guests reenact the violence that preceded Rapp's death. The library features a recurring apparition of a woman in a white dress who appears collapsed on the floor, vanishing when approached, leaving behind the overwhelming scent of gin and orange blossoms, Rappai's preferred perfume. The mansion's current owners have consulted historians, mediums, and even retired detectives, all seeking to understand why the property remains locked in that terrible night. Number 2. Lucy's Lost Secret. Lucille Ball's Beverly Hills estate harbors a mystery that even death couldn't make her reveal. Staff members report seeing Ball not as the elderly woman she was at death, but as young Lucy from television's golden age, frantically pointing at a specific wall in what was once her dressing room. When paranormal investigators examined that wall with ground-penetrating radar, they discovered a hidden compartment the current owners were legally prevented from opening. Ball's spirit appears exclusively in mirrors throughout the house, always making the same gesture, finger to lips for silence, then pointing urgently at that wall. The phrase, "Don't let them find it," echoes through heating vents in Ball's distinctive voice. A contractor hired to renovate the room reported tools flying from his hands whenever he approached that particular wall, and his workers refused to continue after claiming invisible hands had pushed them away. The mystery deepened when researchers discovered the room had been Daisy Arnaz's office during their marriage. The hidden compartment dates to renovations done just before their divorce, timing that suggests the secret involves both comedy's greatest couple and the end of their relationship. Number 1. Marilyn's Manhattan Mystery. Marilyn Monroe's secret Manhattan penthouse, purchased under the alias Zelda Zonk just months before her death, maintains her presence through lipstick messages that appear on bathroom mirrors. The bright red signatures match exemplars of Monroe's autograph perfectly, though security footage shows no one entering the bathroom when they appear. The penthouse was Monroe's planned escape from Hollywood, a place where she could be Norma Jean instead of Marilyn. She installed a private phone line that still receives calls. The phone rings at 4:25 a.m., the time she often called friends during her final troubled months. Those brave enough to answer hear only breathing and occasional sobbing. Maintenance workers report finding the apartment's thermostat constantly reset to 68 degrees, Monroe's preferred temperature, despite being password protected. The current owner, bound by strict legal agreements, hired a team of paranormal specialists who work exclusively with celebrity hauntings. Despite their efforts, Monroe's spirit seems to be growing stronger rather than fading, as if proximity to the anniversary of her death intensifies her need to communicate something urgent about what really happened in August 1962. That's all for today's Haunted Mansions. Don't miss the videos on screen now They're just as crazy. Catch you in the next one.